A few months ago, there was this huge hype about this paper called Recursive Language Models. People were saying, oh, it's the death of RAG or even context window, but in hindsight, I thought coding agents already do something similar to what this paper proposed. Basically storing the context in a file and have the agents interact with that file. So honestly, I did not really get the hype. But after making that linear attention video, it seems that attention is going to hit a wall and it'll be very difficult to overcome. So instead of trying to make attention to do the impossible, because there are just so many downsides to extremely long context, what if we instead have a good consistent workaround that means we don't really need to rely on attention for long context at all? So this is the reason why I came back to read this paper a lot more closely. And since I'm pretty much up to date on long context attention, the idea that RLM proposes actually does make a lot of sense. And not just simply makes sense, but it offered a lot more precise and nuanced ideas that the current LLM landscape lacks. But before we dive into it, if you're building AI agents, you have probably noticed a recurring problem. Prototyping is really easy, but making them reliable and consistent in production often requires painful rewriting of the project from scratch. Unexpected things that never happen locally, such as orchestration failures, tool calls timeout, or rate limits just spawn. And that's exactly where Inngest comes in. Inngest is a durable execution platform. It shifts the fault-tolerant work from system engineering into backend code that you can actually ship. So your critical logic keeps running across failures or long time windows without turning your app into an infrastructure project. With how AI agents' early challenges like hallucination and safety were managed through many workarounds like orchestration patterns, human in the loop, tool calling, and reasoning, these also introduce multiple points of failure that Inngest's durable execution is uniquely positioned to address. You would get automatic state persistence, intelligent retries, and workflow resumption, so your agent doesn't just fail and restart, it continues from where it left off. Inngest would basically act as the AI agent harness for you, so you can make sure that your agents are always production ready. For instance, they manage human in the loop with a durable suspension where your agent can pause for approval for hours or days, then continue without losing context. In their latest release called Durable Endpoints, you can use Inngest's durability API directly inside your existing API endpoints, so your prototype is production ready from day one without having to set up workflows or go through that classic two-stage process of building something fast and brittle, then slowing down later to rebuild it for reliability. What's even better is that they have a pretty nice free plan too, with up to 50,000 executions per month. So if you're building agents and want reliability and good AI harness, definitely check them out using the link down in the description, and thank you Inngest for sponsoring this video. Anyways, the main idea that the RLM paper proposes is that we need to consider the feelings of LLMs, because how we treat the context window on a systematic scale matters a lot. If you treat it well, it might be able to show you the world of 10 million context window. If you treat it bad, it might suck up more money while the performance rots away. So as the amount of information a model can process has grown exponentially, the utility of this context has not actually scaled linearly. You see, when the sequence length that you put into the context window for the LLM to process increases, the probability mass assigned to any single token must decrease on average. So on a scale of 1,000 tokens versus 1 million tokens, the signal of a critical token would be much easier to be drowned out by the noise of the irrelevant tokens. This is also the reason why models commonly fail needle in a haystack tests when the needle requires semantic understanding rather than simple keyword matching. On top of that, as models now get better, many needle in a haystack problems have become extremely saturated and maxed out that they are no longer representative of the user's experience, especially with how the usage is rarely about retrieving a section within a large document, which is the typical needle in a haystack setup. Instead, it's more like an active Q&A session that a user would build up the context window with while the model tries to achieve their request. So this is where the idea of context rot was born. It is used to describe the phenomenon where the LLM would just start to perform worse and worse the more you fill up the context window. The idea was first introduced by Chroma Research, and they empirically showed that a model's ability to reason over data degrades as length increases. And that is the inherent flaw of attention. So if context rot cannot be prevented, but you still need to use a large context, then what about RAG? Aside from not straining attention by offloading to storage, it can also contain much more information that could worth more than 10 million tokens. And yes, for the past 3 years, the industry's answers to the context window bottleneck has been retrieval augmented generation. By storing information in external vector databases and retrieving only the relevant chunks for a query, RAG perfectly bypasses the context limit, well, at least on paper. RAG is fundamentally a patch. You are essentially having a search engine glued to a reasoning engine. It also suffers from finding the right information as it lacks the ability to understand semantics or global context. So RLM basically proposed a new paradigm with the sole focus focus being treating a context window as an external environment and not simply a place to stuff any information into. The key idea here is by keeping different levels of thinking isolated, by having a high level root context and lower level subcontext, then you wouldn't pollute the core high level goal and basically dedicate all the thinking to subcontexts. So in the high level root, it uses as less of the context as you can. So from trying to make the window better, which is attention variance, to maybe stop forcing the model to attend over everything, which is RAG, but obviously RAG is not the best, then how can we do it in a more optimal way? Which brings us to RLM. More specifically, the long context is treated as an external environment and it lives as a variable in a persistent Python REPL. This means the model never actually sees the content within the context window, kind of like developers querying an extremely large SQL database. So you would filter the data and peek at the data, yet never return the entire database. But for RLM, the model will be writing Python to read the context instead of using SQL, with the context being stored as a variable in a persistent Python REPL, which if you don't know what that is, it just feels like using a Jupyter notebook. So if you give RLM a 500-page PDF, the root model isn't handed the 500-page PDF as tokens. Instead, it is given an interface to it. The root model is given only constant size metadata, which includes length of the prompt, a short prefix, and instructions for how to access the pieces, all before the root model starts writing code against that variable. Then what follows will be the reading step, which is a sequence of deliberate probes. The model can write code to peek into the object, slice it, run regex over it, build indices, and decide what to recursively expand next. So the root model also gets a function that can invoke a sub-RLM with its own smaller prompt that will operate over a slice of the big context. These subcalls do dense local reasoning because they are now operating in an isolated context window, and after that local reasoning has been completed, the results will be returned to the root model with the isolated environment, including the thinking process, completely discarded. Then the root model will keep going, executing code, updating state, and only appending constant size metadata of the sub-RLM output back into its own history, so the root doesn't drown in its own intermediate outputs. Another important note is that unlike the chunking in RAG where it returns a slice of a document for the LLM to reason, RLM's recursion is a control flow that lets you do it adaptively. If the root notices a relevant chapter header through regex, it can spawn a subcall to summarize just that section. If the summary suggests a specific name, date, or claim, the root can spawn another subcall focused on only the pages where that claim appears, and so on. And within the isolated subcall, it will decide whether it's relevant and directly return the answer for the root model. So the root model's main job is just to assemble a final answer when there is enough evidence. So each iteration can launch arbitrarily many subcalls, so the heavy lifting moves sideways into recursion rather than stacking up in the root context. And another really important part is that even the final answer synthesis is done in a subcall. It is not actually done in the root model. So the root model is mainly an orchestrator. It runs code, decides what to inspect next, launches subcalls, and writes intermediate results into REPL variables. So it can launch a dedicated aggregator subcall whose only job is to assemble the final answer from all the summaries, extract the facts, and citations. Then of course, the only practical constraint is that the aggregator subcall still has to fit everything within its context window on top of all the thinking processes. But this turns the typical impression of LLMs from a reader into a navigator, where it transforms the problem of memory into a problem of search and compute. And this is only possible thanks to the current strong code generation capabilities that LLMs have, so it is able to manage its own information intake. That's why at the start I was like, RLM sounds a lot like an agent because it decides what to read, when to read it, and how to process it. But to make a stronger distinction of why RLM is not an agent, well, agent is like an umbrella term that doesn't really capture what RLM is trying to achieve. An agent is usually defined by autonomy over a goal across multiple steps, an explicit action space, and a loop where the model chooses actions and observes outcomes. But here, RLM is a lot more narrow. It's more like a scaffold whose core purpose is long context management, turning read the entire prompt into navigate an external object with code and recursion. With the paper specifically pointing out the design choices it thinks the typical agent scaffolds get wrong for long context, with RLM's key 3 constraints being: 1. The user prompt lives in the environment as a symbolic handle. 2. The recursion happens symbolically from inside executed code and not as a log tool action. And 3. The final answer would live in the environment rather than being forced as a direct finish emission in the root. So an RLM can be inside an agent, or an agent can be implemented using an RLM style loop. But RLM is not the notion of an agent that browses, plans, or acts in the world. Especially when long horizon agents agents will all eventually bottleneck because of the unmanaged context window. And to properly prove the effectiveness of RLM, the paper even benchmarks against a common agent scaffold. And if you look at BrowseConf Plus, which is a benchmark that has around 6 million to 11 million tokens, RLM with a base model being GPT-5 and subcalls being GPT-5 mini reaches a staggering 91.3%, while Kodak plus BM25 is 51% and the summary agent is 70.5%. Not to mention, RLM only costs 0.99. On the other hand, for the information dense Oolong pairs benchmark, the contrast is even sharper. The pure GPT-5 model is essentially at less than 0.1%, while RLM with GPT-5 reaches 58%. A huge qualitative jump which aligns with the paper's claim that recursive plus symbolic manipulation obtains emergent capability on tasks where just retrieve and summarize breaks. What's even crazier is that they even limit tested RLM up to 10 million context window. While of course it's not like the context window now can handle up to 10 million tokens, but the fact that the system can accept prompts in the 10 million regime and still produce correct outputs because it never tries to load that entire prompt into the model context, which basically avoids all the issue that attention has under long context settings. This is also why it can beat the classic RAG style approaches on long context reasoning tasks. That is because RAG is optimized for finding a few relevant pieces of evidence, but it is structurally biased towards sparse retrieval where you embed query, pull top k chunks, and hope the answer is recoverable from that subset. But since the paper's evaluation includes tasks like Oolong where the answer depends on transforming and aggregating information that effectively spans nearly all entries, top key retrieval and lossy summarization tend to fail on this exact benchmark. This might also be why ChatGPT's memory function doesn't use RAG either, which kind of just hints any future heavy memory related AI agents will not be using RAG and might pivot to RLM like scaffold. Because in contrast, an RLM can systematically traverse the whole input with line by line chunking through recursive subcalls and stitch results together in variables, so it is not limited to a small retrieved working subset. But naturally, the cost of an RLM is much different than RAG. RAG still tends to be faster in production for many workloads, especially for things that's speed sensitive like customer support or Q&A, because the expensive part, which is finding relevant context, is offloaded to a vector database where a math operation can quickly approximate nearest neighbor and return it. In contrast, RLM is fundamentally test time inference scaling, as it pays for iterative interaction, code execution, and multiple model calls whose count can vary a lot with problem complexity. Anyways, it is still kind of insane to me how the RLM setup in this research, which is GPT-5 as a root and using GPT-5 mini as the subcalls, can be literally all setups in long context, especially with how they use the readily available GPT-5. So no reinforcement learning at all. Absolute mind-blowing. And imagine what the root model can actually do if it's fine-tuned specifically as an orchestrator. So now to address the elephant in the room, is this the death of RAG? As RLM exposes the weakness of vector search, it just shows that it is simply a heuristic and not a reasoning tool. Because as inference costs drop, the premium for thinking over guessing will vanish for high-value workflows. I mean, RAG will still stick around, especially when speed and cost are the #1 priority, but as LLM's main appeal is genuinely good reasoning, especially robustness on huge inputs, dense aggregation, or long horizon where the system must work through large artifacts rather than just retrieve a few snippets, RLM style is just so much more appealing. So as the way for AI to think economy grows, people and enterprises will happily accept latency for accuracy in high-value workflows like legal discovery or medical diagnosis, and RLM marks as a great starting scaffold for all that, which kind of explains why this paper got so popular. And to be honest, you can probably even use RAG within RLM in its subcall, so what I think will happen is RLM can incorporate a vector database instead, as RLM handles the heuristics and vector database handles the search. This method is already better than brute forcing, like grepping for a specific document. So yeah, that's it for this video, and if you like how I explained the AI concepts today, you should definitely check out my latest project, IntuitiveAI.Academy, where it contains an intuitive explanation of all modern LLMs from the ground up, ranging from LLM architectures, LoRa, to how MoEs work. A total of 24 chapters are currently available and will be updated monthly. This is the start of a series where I'll break down AI topics intuitively because I genuinely think anyone could understand them no matter how difficult it may seem. So for those who want to get into AI or LLMs, this should be the perfect place for you to dive into the technical parts without being intimidated by crazy looking maths. And right now I am also putting out a new launch discount for 2026, so you can use use the code EARLY for 40% off a yearly plan. And thank you guys for watching. A big shout out to Spam Maj, Chris LeDoux, Deagan, Robert Zawiasa, Marcelo Ferreria, Poof and Inu, DX Research Group, Alex, Midwest Maker, and many others that support me through Patreon or YouTube. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.